All right, welcome everybody. You gotta shut your All right, welcome everybody to the March 18th, 2024 Select Board meeting. We have a handful of announcements and board openings. We have one opening for the Community Preservation Committee, 2 openings for the Conservation Committee, 2 associate openings for the Council on Aging, 1 associate opening for the Finance and Advisory Committee. The Historic District Commission, we have kind of a mixed bag of openings, 2 openings for a 3-year term, 2 openings for a 2-year term. One of those folks must be a resident of the Historic District, and the other must be a resident realtor in town. We have 1 opening on the Human Rights Commission, 1 associate opening on the Planning Board, and 1 associate opening on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And at this time, we have 3 minutes on topics not on the agenda tonight for public comment. If you're at home on Zoom, raise your hand. If you're here, come to the podium. State your name, your address, and speak your mind.
Bill Olson, 419 Highland Street. I want to let people know that as I wanted to remain involved in the Hamilton government, I put myself on the ballot for 2 positions, not knowing what the landscape would be and who was running, because there's a lot of open positions. I tried to remove my name from the planning board ballot, but I was too late in the process, so I'm going to show up on the ballot for both planning board and select board, but my preference is to run for select board. So I ask people, if you're going to vote for me, please vote for me for a select board. Any questions?
No, noted.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Bill.
Never a dull moment here in Hamilton. All right. Seeing no hands raised online, nobody in person, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 2 items. One is to approve minutes of February 26, 2024 Select Board meeting, and then also approve the minutes of January 22nd, 2024 Select Board meeting. Anybody want to make a motion to accept?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. All right, on to our main agenda. Up first, we have approve our A common victualers license for the Hamilton House of Pizza. We have some new owners. I believe they're with us today. If you want to come up, come right up to the podium and just welcome.
Hi guys. So my name is Gusedio Vasil. So we applied for Common Vic for Hamilton House of Pizza. I don't know, hope we're gonna do the best for you. So everything will gonna be the same, and we're gonna thank for welcoming us to your town. So let's see how it's gonna be after this meeting.
Perfect.
Well, thank you.
But you own it currently, or you're going to buy it?
So where I'm gonna buy,
Okay.
we just apply for everything for license, and hope by the end of the month we're gonna be in the store.
The Director of Health has reviewed the permit and the application and everything, and approved it, so.
And you own other restaurants?
Yes, I do. I just bought 4 months ago Ipswich House of Pizza, and I own a couple more, the Stoneham House of Pizza and Lewis in Linfield.
Very nice.
They like the House of Pizza. All right, nothing wrong with that.
If you have a pitch or anything we should look forward to?
You're not gonna be disappointed.
Good, I like the confidence. So
All right.
when are you gonna reopen under new ownership?
Hopefully, we hope, let's see, if everything's gonna be fine, by the end of this month, we're gonna be probably for a week closed to clean and to be everything shiny over there, and then we're gonna restart again. Hope by first week of the April.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The application's in the file. Everything's copacetic, so if anybody wants to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve the common victor's license for Hamilton House of Pizza.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? No? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it.
Congrats.
Thank you very much, guys.
Welcome
I
to
appreciate
town.
it.
Welcome to town.
Thank you.
Didn't the last pizza guy bring pizza?
It was after you opened.
Didn't they brought pizza?
Let him open first.
In the first
That was funny, though. I think the guy showed up with pizza.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, up next, we have appoint Walter Lazinski as the Republican member of the Board of Registrars of Voters. Our town clerk, Corinne Kale, has made the request. And if I'm right, Walter's
Good night.
been on the Board of Registrars for about 12 or 14 years now?
Yep, since 2012. Hi, Corinne Kale, Town Clerk. Over the last couple of years, you guys the board has been extremely helpful in helping me clean up the dates and expiration dates of the various members of the Board of Registrars. So Walter's term is up at the end of March, and so this is to reappoint him starting April. I feel a little bad because usually you say to the registrars that there are some really minimal roles and that we'll never have a recount. But they got very involved in the recount in 2022, and now they'll be with me all day on Thursday for this recount. So they're really seen as an objective board to come in and look at processes that have anything to do with voters and elections. So we not only are required to have them by law, but are very fortunate to have them. So, yep, just looking to have the reappointment. And I did go through the legal process of contacting the chair of the Republican Town Committee. So covered my bases on that one. So the request is in front of you.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion to accept the reappointment?
I make a motion to accept the reappointment.
All right.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it.
Thank you.
Corinne. And thank you, Walter, for sticking with us for so long.
You can't drag him out of there.
No, he's a fixture now. We have up next a update on our Cutler School building study / review and vote on site selection with our illustrious superintendent, Mr. Eric Tracy. Eric.
All right, thank you.
Good.
I'm gonna try and.
Presentation up there.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on that. Give me a sec.
Perfect.
Plenty of chairs over here, Tom. Okay. All right.
You want to take an opportunity to thank the select board members for giving me the opportunity, for also being involved in the process. And that's members of the board, there are members of the FinCom involved in this really important process for the school district to kind of grow and continue to give our kids and our staff members great places to work, play, and grow. The Cutler School project has been going on for about a year and a half, really, since we got the approval approved for the statement of interest with the MSBA. This presentation is really a quick overview of where we're at. We have done fairly extensive site review during this feasibility process. So we were in the eligibility process. We accelerated out of the eligibility process, as you can see on this. We went in and formed our project team. We've hired JCJ Architecture, and they'll be doing our architects and design work. And then we have PMA as our OPM, and they are assisting us on our side to make sure that things go smoothly and things stay on track. Feasibility study has really given us the opportunity to review a number of properties around both communities, both Hamilton and Wenham. That's the expectation of the MSBA. Keep in mind, this process is literally prescriptive from the MSBA, so we're checking boxes off mostly for them, but also giving us the opportunity to look around and keep our eyes wide open. So after almost 30 different sites that were supplied to us from the communities, both Hamilton and Wenham, the architectural firm did a site review to see which would be feasible given size and type and dynamics of the properties. Literally came down to 2 properties that were most viable to build schools on, and schools are already on them, the Winthrop site and the Cutler site. Then they looked at sites of mostly 7 acres and larger that either community had control of. A lot of the land that's controlled by the communities is wetlands, so there's some real quick stoppers there. So you can go to the next slide. Through the process, the MSBA gives us the formula for what they will support. Part of the MSBA program is to understand the MSBA program is a grant program. Communities can write a statement of interest. If they get accepted and they're pulled into the process, have the opportunity to gain a percentage of the total cost of the project. Our project right now is sitting at 47.63% reimbursement from the state. That's a nice number. That is not a number you see very often. And we also have the ability to gain on some incentive points along the way. So for sustainability efforts, maintenance efforts, and different things that we build in, different ways we use certain materials, we can gain more percentage points on the reimbursement side. The enrollment options come from the state. So back, almost 2 years ago, myself, Joe, and a number of school people walked with the MSBA through our 3 elementary schools, and they determined that the Cutler School was really the school that needed to be fixed, renovated, repaired. And during that process, they also looked at the Winthrop School and said, yeah, that school would qualify as well. And we at that time had statement of interest on all 3 elementary schools. They have accepted the Cutler site as the main project. These enrollments allow us to kind of play with that a little bit, and these enrollments come directly from the state due to studies they do. So the option A, Cutler Grade 5, Cutler Elementary School, would be just a new elementary school. So you'd either renovate it, bring it up to code, you would renovate and do an addition, or build a new school, but it can't be any more than 285 students for that particular model and for reimbursement. When you go to the letter B, it would be a consolidated Cutler and Winthrop school only, and that would include K-5 in both schools. So when you're looking at K-5 in both schools, you're looking at over 800 kids. Excuse me, I'm sorry, not over 800 kids, over 580 kids, excuse me. So they give you an enrollment of about 645 students as you build that. And then in option C, I'll tell you why the line's through it in a minute. Option C is Cutler Elementary School, grades 3 through 5. That would be a district-wide rejiggering of grades. So basically, any student in grades 3 through 5 in any of the 3 elementary schools would end up at that Cutler school. And you see that size is 430. And then you get to option D, grades 1 through 5, consolidated Cutler and Winthrop Elementary School. That allows us to not only put 1 through 5 at Cutler and Winthrop, but also Bucher. So every kid in grades 1 through 5 would be able to go to that new building. This is the process we are in now of trying to determine which direction to go. Through the last month and a half, the committee has knocked out the 430 student enrollment. It just doesn't make sense. If we moved all of our kids from the Winthrop and the Cutler into one building on the Cutler site, and left everybody else in the lone Bucher building, we would not be able to put the kids in there. The pre-K kids, the K and 1 and 2, would not fit in the Bucher school. So we took that option off the table through the school building committee. You can go to the next slide, Joe.
Can I interrupt for just a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
E and D, can you explain the difference? The number's about 100 different students,
D
but you're...
includes Bucher.
Oh, it includes Bucher.
Yeah.
Includes 1 through 5 at Bucher.
B includes only Winthrop and Cutler and no movement from Bucher. Bucher to remain
Okay.
exactly how it is, K to 5 right now.
Gotcha, okay.
D is consolidation across the district. We have right now, when you look at pre-K to 5, we have 847 students. That's the second highest enrollment we've had in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And we're rising. We're gaining at the elementary school levels. And if you build a new school, they will come. So the state clearly understands that. They've built in about a 50-student window for excesses, if you will, looking at our total numbers.
So,
So
not,
what, oh, go ahead.
not to belabor the numbers a little bit, but you can probably remember, when we did the apportionment study a handful of years ago, we looked at declining enrollment, et cetera, and that kind of wave of things. We've had a handful of bumps in the lower levels, but we're still about 250 or so students lower than we have been kind of historically a decade ago or so. With this new school, do they see this rise continuing possibly, and then will we be at a situation where we're running out of classrooms in the upper levels?
So they are projecting this to continue to rise at the elementary level, and that's really all they look at. So they do a 10-year study, much better than what we've used in the past. NASDAQ has been the number we've used in the past, which has never been accurate. The state goes really deeply into it. They look at birth rates, move-ins, move-outs. They really take their time and go through it. And whereas where they build those buffers in, knowing that you're going to get an increase in students. I mean, in the past 5 years, we've gone from 6 sections of K 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5th grade to now next year we're going to have 7 of every grade from K to 5 for the first time in a long time, and it's still rising. I mean, you're looking at, go back to 2022, you had 113 houses sold in the town of Hamilton alone. Average house price around $900,000. According to real estate agents, the people moving into those houses are generally millennials with kids who are not yet school-aged. So those are all kind of built into the projection. Then you start to think about, okay, are there any projects coming online down within the next 5 or 8 years? And the state asked those questions of us. We got the information from the town and supplied it. So there's a lot that goes into their enrollment studies. They don't like to miss.
Yeah, good.
You show us 4 options there. Were there a lot more options than those 4?
So what happens is I'll show you on the next slide, we broke those options out. So on this next slide, there were 14 options that came out of those 4.
Right, but back on the 4, my question is like,
Just
I don't want to belabor,
consolidating.
but you had like a 3, you had a 1 and a 3. I didn't see like a 2 through 5 or a 2, but you went through all those iterations. There's a reason why you only went 3 through 5 versus 2 through 5.
If you go back to that slide, Joe, those numbers, it's slide 4 now,
Yeah.
Those numbers right there were given to us by the state.
Okay.
Those are the only options they would support.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so they're basically saying, if we're gonna reimburse you 47%, you gotta stay within our lanes. These are the lanes they gave us. They're actually good options for us. I mean,
Okay.
even if we did nothing, in the next few years, we need to reconsolidate and move some things around. I mean, I'm bursting out of the Winthrop School, I'm bursting out of the Bucher School. I have classrooms on the stages. I have classrooms in the hallways. It's at a point where we're gonna have to move some things
All right,
around.
we're
so-
critical mass.
Yep.
Okay.
And
But
in
these were given by the
scenario
state.
D, all of grade K goes to Bucher, or?
Yeah, essentially, because of the regional agreement, we have to keep one school in each community. The Bucher is the lone Wenham representative here. So what happens is the idea would be if you moved all your 1 through 5 to the new building on either the Cutler or the Winthrop site, then you would have pre-K and K, which is it would be a nice early childhood, early learning center model, and you have enough rooms to do that with some access to be able to build your preschool program.
Gotcha, thanks.
So this is an interesting chart. It is a lot. I understand it. I only want you to concentrate on the C and the numbers at the top on that C 1.0, C 2.1. That group of Cs are all of the possibilities at the Cutler site that came out of the 4 options I showed you. On the Winthrop site, the other half of this, where the other opportunities come from, those are all opportunities that could be placed on the Winthrop site. And you'll notice if you go down to the 3rd line, it'll say, I'll just use C10 as an example. That is a code upgrade and a base repair. That means just bringing it to code. Nothing more than that. Same building on the Cutler site, doesn't interfere with any other site. 285 kids, K to 5. And then the next one is an addition renovation. So what you see in pink are 4 options to put an addition on and renovate the Cutler facility. And all those 4 options that I showed you earlier, they basically say, okay, we'll take the building you have and try to figure out some addition and renovation combination that we can do. It's a way to save some money, but also it takes longer to build. The next one's the Cs that are in the blue. That's all new construction. So 4 more options, the same 4 options you saw previous, if you built brand new. You can, on the Cutler site, build a new building while the kids are in the old building. You just have enough land there. And as you get to the Winthrop site, it's the same thing. The pink represent renovation and addition, and then the blue represent new construction. So there are some lines through there. Just like the previous slide, the 430 student option got knocked out. So we struck those probably about maybe a month ago through the school building committee. So those options were the 430 student option taken off the table. During this process, all of these little dots and numbers, each member of the committee, there are 20 members, 18 members of the committee that are voting members. Each member of the committee got to chime in. Each of these rows represents some facet of each of the sites. So it could be buildability, things about transportation, parking and traffic flow. So all of those things were ranked out by every single member of the committee and then averaged out. The numbers you see at the very bottom are how they ranked overall with the committee. And you can see there are 5 in yellow. Those were the options that rose to the top, if you will. So the first one, the highest ranking option would have been C33, which was new construction, 645 students, K-5 option. The next one would have been the, C31, new construction, 285. The next one after that would go to the Cutler School, new construction, 740. And then all the way down to one of the Winthrop sites. What the committee did, if you can go to the next slide, Joe.
Yep.
The committee had to really make some decisions. So the state requires us to keep one code upgrade and one addition renovation in the mix until we come to a final decision, which is close to the end of April. And then we took the next top 5 scorers. So we added in, you can see the one that's not in yellow. On the Winthrop site, that 740 scored a 74.57. That was added in once we struck the 430s because we wanted to have 5 options still available for the committee and the architects and designers to look at and review. So each meeting, the architects and designers bring back different fits and different looks about what each of these things would look like on the particular sites, like how they would fit. And they were literally block designs. Picture a whole bunch of different size shoe boxes fit into different shapes, meeting a certain amount of square footage. These 5 are where we're at right now to select from between now and the end of the month, and actually the end of April. The end of April, we'll continue to go through these and knock them down, and at some point we'll come to one preferred option. The preferred option is what we take into the schematic design phase, which is the phase where they really build and grow the design of the building. What do the classrooms look like? Where are they located? How does the building sit on the property? So there'll be a lot of information over the next 6 months after April. Next slide, Joe. Sorry.
Okay.
These are just those options, the 5 options that we're looking at right now to round it down. And the committee will continue to have discussions. The designer and the OPM are presenting positives, negatives, pros, and cons. They're looking at traffic studies. They're looking at, we had borings done the other day over on the Cutler site because there's some concern about the ledge over there that you can see. Not as bad as we thought it was. It's actually, they can drill down in that baseball soccer field area down to 25 feet. So much more room there than we thought. So this point here, from now till the end of the month, we will kind of grow this into the final preferred option. Next slide. The one caveat here is to decide on a final option. The MSBA requires that the district have control of the site chosen to build upon, which means at least the expected life of the building. And their expected life of a new building is about 50 years, which this statement right here triggered my letter to the select board, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, five weeks ago maybe, requesting a conversation about the lease agreements. As everybody knows, we have 2 leases, one on the Cutler site, one on the Winthrop site. The school department does not own either of those. Both leases are coming up next year. They end next year. We usually just renew them with our general conversation and some voting, but this is a different kind of ask. We're really looking for the select board to help us with a lease of at least 50 years on one, if not both of the sites, and then have us give us the ability to go back to the committee to help make that decision from the 5 options that are left. There's 4 on Cutler, 1 on Winthrop, down to down to one final option. The deadline for us to do that is the 29th of April, which we need to submit to the state, what's called PSR, Preferred Schematic. We already sent them a 1,700-page document in our last submission. We'll send them another set of documentation to cover the process up until this point. One of the things they'll look for is something of either a vote or an agreement to extend one, if not both, of the leases for at least 50 years on one of the two properties. And then one more slide, I think. Yep. And then this is a project timeline. You can see the red arrow on the bottom of that line is where we are now. We are in feasibility study. We are looking at preferred schematic report development. That's what we're doing now. Preferred schematic brings us to one point. And then we'll shift over, submit everything to the state, and start the design process. The design process is where it gets a little more fun. You start to see what classrooms look like, where gyms located, where traffic patterns look like, things like that. And then that will help us get to, when we get to the fall, a number to bring to town meeting in 2025, but also a fairly close reimbursement number, so that we can also bring that to town meeting and say, we know this, whatever choice we make is going to cost this much. Here's the reimbursement at this point in time. And then we move forward from there in 2025 to vote on the towns to approve the project. Some of the things that I understand as superintendent of schools, we've continued to be open and transparent with the communities, and will continue to do so. I understand, the realities of the MBTA overlay and the realities of how that would work for both Wenham and Hamilton, and I think it's an important opportunity for the town and also the schools to be upfront with the people in the community to be able to meet the needs of both the school department and the town at the same time, while moving both forward. So we are open to discussion of any opportunities to extend the leases and or extend a single lease. We're not saying we want this one or that one. It's really we're willing to work with the town to make a determination, also understanding the realities of the decisions that need to be made down the road with the overlay.
Questions? Comments?
I have a question for you about the lease, but the question for you is, who ultimately is gonna make the tough decision? Is it just, it's the same group voting again and again and keep narrowing down, or
Correct.
does it come down to a different group of people voting for the final?
Well, so,
The school building committee votes on the final project, but Joe has in his hand the card that just went out. People should. Some people got it Saturday, I learned. Some people got it today, but it's out there. We have on the 27th, we have a forum, an open forum, which will be starting a survey too to the communities to say, hey, here's the last few options we have to work with. Here are the pros, here are the cons. What do you think? Take that feedback from the community back to the school building committee, who ultimately makes the final decision on the preferred design.
So people
preferred.
should speak their mind, and
Yeah.
it makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We want people to come to the
Right.
community forums. We're doing it at the high school on the 27th at 6:30. We've had some pretty good showings at the forums that we've done already to date. It's given us some really good feedback from people who have, 4 kids in school system, kids who are like, oh, my kids are gonna miss this. They're gonna be in middle school by the time we build it. To the people who have kids that are not of school age yet. So there's a lot of excitement and opportunity for us to build something together, but also to get the community involved in helping us to steer that boat, if you will.
What's the date of the forum? Sorry, I missed that.
March 27th.
27th, 6:30. It's going to be at the high school. And then we've been meeting with groups across the community. We've gone to farmers markets. I went to two of the local church groups to talk. The COAs we've been to. We're going to a mother's group to speak with them, the friends group. So we're really trying to get the word out there. We want people to understand what's going on. We realize this is a big move for both communities, and understand that, I think it's for us, it's an opportunity to put our kids into a great school for their growth and for their learning along the way. It smooths the transition down some ways to, busing. We're currently busing kids all over our elementary schools. I don't know if you guys are aware, we bus kids from
You
school
got
to
3
school
stops,
to school.
yeah.
3 stops every day for every kid. So it's it's a little bit messy right now. So it gives us an opportunity to examine a lot of those things and be more efficient, be more effective. Gives us an opportunity to look at sustainability within a new school facility, take advantage of possibilities like geothermal, solar, and any of the materials options that are out there for sustainability.
So just to kind of lead the discussion tonight, we have kind of two things we're working on. One is the lease that Eric mentioned, the 50-year lease. And then the second part of that is determining, I'd like to pick a site tonight, if I feel that we can, but we can always choose to extend the lease on both areas, but I'd rather not do that. Seeing as how kind of we've got 4 options in one camp and 1 in the other, it seems fairly obvious to me, but I'd like to hear from the board. And then since we have town council here and he can refresh my memory with these leases that are longer than X number of years for a 50-year lease, we would need to go to the town meeting, I'm guessing. But we could kind of make that forecast, it will be going to town meeting
That's
with it
correct.
for the
Under, I think it's
MSBA.
chapter 40, section 3, the select board has the authority to enter into leases of public buildings for up to 30 years.
Right,
So if we're going to exceed that term, then it would likely require town meeting approval.
right, because when I renewed the Winthrop and Cutler lease last time, we did a 10-year lease on it, and we could do that because it was less than the number, so.
Very correct.
Now with it being over 30, we gotta go to town meeting. So, just to kind of level set where we are.
So we need to have a lease ready to go by, like, soon.
So,
We can kind of, if I'm understanding correctly, and Eric, you can correct me, we can basically write a letter of intention saying that we're going to renew this lease on X spot for 50 years. We just have to wait till our next town meeting, because,
So we're not gonna do it at this meeting, because it's not on the,
not enough time to get on
Not
the
a
warrant.
warrant.
No.
Or special town meeting.
Is that accurate?
That's what JCJ and PMA have been saying, that we don't need to have the lease done, but we have to have
Just
some
intention.
we have a commitment and intention.
attention.
Basically, what we've been given the state is proof that a vote is taken at the school committee level, for example, or at the school building committee. Here's the vote, here's the minutes, here's the vote. We send them that, and that generally satisfies them with an explanation of, town council has notified that we need to do X, Y, and Z. They've been pretty good about that, and certainly I can get more info too as we move forward.
So, although we could guess what the site's gonna be, why do we need to preempt the final decision, just timing-wise?
I don't think we have to.
Well,
That's just a preference. I think my only concern about that is there's still an opportunity for citizens to comment, and I don't want to influence that necessarily, unless you think that's important to the process, for the school
Well, I'm
building
kind of in
committee.
that camp too. I feel like there's, several options, Cutler and Winthrop, and I think, if we narrow it down to one, we're eliminating a couple of options, and there's still a community forum on the 27th where people may weigh in. I mean, potentially our vote tonight, if we did vote tonight on one of the sites, could, impact, citizens might be upset if, we narrowed the scope of the potential projects for the vote tonight. That's my only thought.
Yeah, mine too. I mean, I definitely would say that we will, commit to a 50-year lease for sure. I support whatever program the ultimate process ends up at.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at right now. I definitely have my own opinion. I don't know if the board should present one yet or not, but that's
I'm ready to
just thrown out
present
for
it.
discussion.
But the only issue is that in the middle of all this, we have an election. So the board's gonna have 2 new members, and they're gonna be getting up to speed, and I gotta write, so the question is like, are we gonna screw up the system with the fact that we have?
I mean,
You're not going anywhere.
I mean, but to Bill's point though, and where I'm getting at is, when you look at the numbers from all the school building committee members, the Cutler sites are all well above 95, and the Winthrop site is at 80 or 76 or something like that. So,
81,
in my mind, it's not gonna be an end
And the one thing we do is
game.
we could get.
It's obvious.
We do lease for Cutler.
And it's the
Get it
Cutler
done.
School building,
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
it,
We do lease for Cutler, get it done, and if they come back with a Winthrop site, we would just redo it, we would just have
Yeah.
another vote.
yeah.
Right.
The thing to keep in mind too is the school district understands the reality of the needs of the town. And that's the difficult, kind of the linchpin, if you will.
Right.
Go back to the school building committee, and school building committee ultimately says, we're gonna build a 285 student building on the Cutler School. That does not loosen up or let
Doesn't let
the
Winthrop open.
Winthrop go. because we still need somewhere to put
Right.
all those other kids. So it's a delicate dance, and I understand where you're coming from. I think it's a good opportunity to give the town's people to the opportunity to weigh in. You know, another option is vote that you give a lease for both, and then, you know, depending on the direction it takes, we rescind one and
Right.
move forward after that. So there's different options. I'm not stuck on any, and I'm not begging for an answer tonight. I just wanted you to have the information available to you, and also understand that I'm very willing to work with the towns. There is a sense of reality of what has to be done coming down the road for the town of Hamilton and the town of Wenham and every other town in the state. So
I'm also looking forward to, we're asking for money for consultants to redevelop the Winthrop site. So it seems counterproductive to keep the Winthrop site in play.
Could I make a statement to that? So, you know, the consultant's money that we're asking for is to come up with a town center plan that would.
Right, 3A.
That would create new zoning for the entire town center area, inclusive of the Winthrop School site. You know, since I was named town manager 5.5 years ago, every board of selectmen that I've served has talked about when we get the Winthrop site back, that's our opportunity to do some denser development. So, you know, certainly a vote to go one direction or the other doesn't necessarily close off the other, but it shows that the board's at least thinking about how you want to line things up in the future. The 3A zoning is going to take place around the commuter rail in both Hamilton and Wenham. So if we have 3A zoning and a new school, 3A zoning in two towns and a new school all along 1A, we're going to need four streetlights to get through town. If you're asking me my opinion, I think that the town could make a statement here and say that we prefer that you do a new school at the Cutler. And if the voters say that, you know, hey, we want to just do the 285 school and that's what comes out of school feasibility, well, you're going to have both,
Right, doesn't
both
change.
sites anyway.
Right, doesn't
Nothing
change.
changes there, you're just going to have to renew lease on both sites anyway. But
Then you
it's
have
an
a year to
opportunity for
renew
the,
the Winthrop lease.
it's an opportunity for the board to make a statement of the direction you'd like to see things going and why.
there's also two important pieces of the options that are left. The two Winthrop options will be ultimately the most expensive.
Right.
Because you cannot build and run the school at the same time. You basically have to break down a section, move the kids, break down a section, build new, move them into the new, break down another section. It's a longer construction timeline, so it's very expensive. I just want you to be aware of that.
It's a lot more shuffling.
Yeah, there's a lot more shuffling movement. There's, you know, as a superintendent, I went through a 6-phase renovation.
And it's a
when
lot
I
of
was
the
at
kids
Peabody High
and
School,
staff and
it was a
construction fees.
mess. It was a nightmare. Dirt, dust, things coming through the walls.
Yeah.
So there's, having been there, done that, not my option preference, but the other thing is, even if we said, okay, we're gonna go 100% with the Winthrop School, we still need an extension on the lease for the Cutler School. We still need an extension on the lease for the Winthrop, because if we started building and stayed on the schedule we're on, we wouldn't be able to move
wouldn't be
into
able.
a new facility until September 2028-ish. That would be the target line. So about 3 years is the window from the time it gets voted to the time you move kids into it. So you'd still occupy.
You're still gonna need a 3 or
you'd
5
still
year
occupy
lease
it.
on
Right,
Winthrop.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, right, I mean, like I said, as a select board, and what we've been elected to do, I have no problem pushing out that we're in favor of, or at least I am, but in favor of the Cutler site. And so it doesn't preclude them from doing anything, but it gives sort of the support of the site.
I mean, we could say tonight too, to Eric's point, we're still gonna need to redo a Winthrop lease in
Right.
some capacity. We could say, we will, tonight, we could vote as a board if we decided to, vote a 50-year lease for the Cutler site and a 5-year lease for the Winthrop site. And then we can always rejigger stuff within the next year if they decide on the Winthrop site, or Cutler gets just the rebuild of the school and Winthrop is still there, and then we've got that year to redo. But I think we need to send a message that we're trying to invest in our downtown area and revitalize it.
Yeah, so, I mean, as we talk it through, I think based on the ratings, you know, based on the town needs, you know, financially impact the tax rate, the ability to drive a revenue source downtown, I would definitely, you know, for the betterment of the town, would say that, you know,
Right.
getting back that location would be better for the town.
Yeah,
If we're gonna have a vote in this, if we don't, it's an unofficial vote, we're gonna vote in the thing, this is our only opportunity to have that vote.
So, yeah, now as we talk it through.
Right.
I did have one question before we got there, though. We didn't talk class size. Any difference in impact to class size in any of these scenarios?
Nope. So the state uses 23 as their average class size when they figure their reimbursement and number of classrooms, depending on the enrollment option. We use 22. That's our district, so we'll negotiate with them. We'll probably end up there. Our class sizes have been very reasonable comparatively. The one thing that is important for me is not to impact class sizes. If anything, to give us some more flexibility to make some shifts and give some room for our specialized programs. You know, we have three elementary schools and 5 different specialized programs across 3 schools, so they're not truly neighborhood schools. Some neighborhood kids go there, but if you're in a particular program, like if you're a multilingual learner, a non-English speaking learner, then you're in the Bucher no matter where you live. Or if you have a language-based disability and you need a specialized program, you're in the Cutler no matter where you live. So those things then all of a sudden come to one place, making it much more easy to deliver services, but also gives you some flexibility within the building arrangement, if you will. So when you go to the state and you say, we have these specialized programs, we need an extra room here, an extra room there. You're not fighting the reimbursement game for the entire duration of the project.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm good to make a vote at this point.
All right. Do you want to make a motion if you're comfortable?
Yeah, sure. I move that we recommend the selection of the Cutler to be the location of the new school.
I think it's more about the lease, right? I think more
Yeah.
about.
We can do both
We
if
can
we
do both,
want
right?
to.
Okay.
You know, based on
Let's do both.
primarily, you know, what we just
Alright.
talked about, the ratings as well as the ability to, you know, get a revenue source downtown.
Okay, so motion to recommend the Winthrop site.
Second.
Or, sorry, Cutler site.
Oh, my gosh.
Almost blew it there.
Second.
Second by Bill, all right. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Make a motion to recommend a 50-year lease to approve a 50-year lease for the Cutler site.
all right. And do you want to add a 5-year lease for the Winthrop site now, or do you want to wait on that?
I think they go hand in hand.
I don't think we need, because we could write that at a meeting without, we could just do that at a meeting without any sort of town vote, I think, so I just
Yeah.
want to keep it separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make a motion, just a 50-year Cutler, because the other one, we could do it, a meeting. it would-
Yeah, you can do it.
But
You don't
why
have to go to
wouldn't
town
we
meeting.
do it, though? I agree with you. I agree with you, but I'm not.
Because
why
that
wouldn't they
one
go
is
hand in
more,
hand?
the one we're making right now is more advisory. That one is more
Gotcha.
finite.
Yeah. I agree to separate
To
it.
unwind something that's finite versus advisory is a little bit different, right?
Okay,
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
So is your motion done?
Make a motion, yeah, to recommend a 50-year lease for a Cutler site.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it on both, unanimous. Anything else, Eric?
You know, I appreciate it.
I just a question of current, if you're not gonna do any work to either building, you're gonna max out Cutler with the most amount of students you could have in Cutler, the most amount of students in Winthrop. Do you know what those numbers are in the current state?
Yeah, Winthrop, I'm over. I have over 330 students in Winthrop. I'm over capacity there. Bucher, I'm over capacity. And then the Cutler, I have probably room for another full classroom of students, which would bring it up to about 253 students. Right now, there are about 231 students over there.
Okay.
There's a little room left in Cutler. It's just the larger facility, Winthrop holds more of our specialized programs, which, you know, if you go into the Winthrop, walk into the Winthrop straight ahead, open the curtains on the stage, there's a classroom there on the back side of the stage.
Yeah.
We just don't have any more room.
And so that 285 number that's on for just kind of stay in place,
Bridges the
basically.
gap. Yeah, you could.
So you'd have to take kids out of Winthrop and put them in Cutler
Right,
to
it
get
would
to that
alleviate strain.
285 even.
It would alleviate strain in the Winthrop if you ended up keeping both, just building a 285 student school on the Cutler site. You'd pull some kids out of Winthrop to alleviate the strain over there, but you're still not.
But then we'd be back at full capacity and with these classes
Yeah, and I
getting
think
bigger.
the thing we all learned Saturday, we took a whole group to Manchester Memorial Elementary School, and I'll tell you, teachers were blown away. They can't believe what the differences are in a new state-of-the-art school when you start to look at opportunities for kids and staff within a facility, but then also the community piece gets built in because they can design it so that parts of it are open and closed to the community more often than not without interrupting the academic areas. It also becomes a place, you know, kind of a central hub, if you will, too, for community events. People using the gym never actually enter into the other areas of the school, and it just gives you some opportunity to to make stronger connections. I mean, we're continuing to want to do that for our community, keep our schools open, give people places to go. We're hoping to do that with the field project. We're hoping to do that with some of the things. We updated the Bucher gym so that, you know, we host pickleball in there now for various groups, which had never occurred. So you don't get to hear it outside. It's quiet, you know. So, but they're just the options and the realities of changing education, from taking your class size, making it 25% larger, giving you more space and more ability to do something, giving you the ability to bring the outside in, giving you the ability to design a building with more natural light, giving you the ability to design a building that lowers the daily glare, that can manage the conditioning of the air without actually adding air conditioning, that allows you to build in sustainability items that kids can use in the classroom. Those are all options and opportunities for us to really give our kids something big to learn and grow in.
Anything else?
I should know this. How many acres on the Cutler site, do you know?
I think it's 7.5, 7.8.
Yeah, it's less than 10.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's under 10. It's like I think 7.8, maybe close to
I
8.
think it's something like that,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then the Winthrop's 14.
Yeah.
Right.
The Winthrop building's just bigger, and it's
Right.
it's like in the middle of the
Yeah,
lot,
it's
so
right,
there's nowhere
it's
to
right in the middle.
start something else. So.
Part of the reason that site is more problematic is because where the building currently is and
It's in the middle, yeah.
the way you need to take things apart and put new things
Right.
together just doesn't lay out well.
That's a big part of it for me too, is like everything else you talked about, build makes a difference, but in order to not have to have a phased approach for years, and it's very expensive and it's
Yeah.
it's expensive and disruptful, so.
And that's the option, when you look at that 740 option on the Winthrop side, it's almost $160 million because of the phase-in and the time, and it probably wouldn't be done until 29 or beyond, so.
Wow.
So I'm available anytime. If you need me to come to a meeting, you need an update, I will be here. As long as I don't have another meeting. I've been meeting lately, but certainly any opportunity, anything you need from me, please reach out, let me know. Joe and I talk frequently, so we can.
So Joe, you're gonna write a letter from the select board to this
I will
school
draft a
building
letter with
committee?
the help of PMA and JCJ to get the words right
Okay.
and note that this vote took place this evening.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks for
thank
your
you,
Appreciate it.
sir.
leadership
Thank you.
on this.
Thanks, Eric.
Great.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, up next, we have sidewalks and Patton Park improvements, review and vote on some ARPA funding requests.
Right, so in your packets, you had a memo from me, as well as a quick spreadsheet on where we're at with ARPA funds. Real quick, this is a little bit of an extension of the current year's capital plan. If you'll remember, last year, we talked about doing some sidewalk repairs and Patton Park improvements with ARPA funding. So we pulled that stuff out of the capital plan, and the intent was to present it to you last spring, immediately prior to town meeting. Unfortunately, we lost our finance director right before that. As I brought on a new finance director, we paused that, and not for any real good reason, we just didn't get back around to getting it on the agenda before now. The original request was gonna be for $250,000 for sidewalk repairs and improvements, which might actually work to our favor now, because we're also requesting $250,000 in the current year's capital plan from the assessor's overlay. So that would give the Public Works Department a total of $500,000 to really make a dent in some of the sidewalks that they want to get addressed in town. The original request also improved a number of $100,000, I have a typo there, but it's $100,000 for Patton Park improvements. And I am now adding a request for single audit expenses. So a single audit is required in any year that you spend at least $750,000 in federal funds. We did that in FY '23, so that meant in this current year, we had to spend about $5,500 to do a single audit of our expenditure of those funds. At the time that we went under contract, we were not allowed to use ARPA funds to pay for that audit, but that has changed, and we can. So even though we've already expended this, if we reclassify the expense as an ARPA expense, we get that $5,500 back in our regular general fund budget, so that we can use it for either other finance department costs, or it'll fall to free cash and we can use it for whatever we want in the future. So we're asking for those three things. Let me, before you go too far into this and start asking me questions, I just want to show you what we have and show you the possibilities. You can agree with our request, you can make modifications to our request. If you look at this spreadsheet, you'll see that we have, down here in the bottom, about $235,249. After you meet these requests, it'd still be another $235,000 of unencumbered ARPA funds. We have a requirement to obligate those funds by December this year. That means we have to have a contract with somebody so that the funds would be spent by the end of 2026. So they're not a huge rush to spend, but definitely a huge rush to obligate the funds. And there's also some other funds, if you look in the top section over to the far right, we had, the very top section outlines the things that had previously been authorized by you, and shows where we are at the spending on those. The biggest one, the GAC filtration, we have about $140,000 left in that, but we are waiting for some final bills on that, so I wouldn't recommend we do anything with those funds right now. I think we'd wait until everything closes out there, and then we could tell you exactly what you have that you might have to reauthorize separately. But for now, you have the request of $355,500 in front of you, and if you chose to, you could take from that 235 and add to any of those expenses as you see fit.
And potentially, some of the remaining could swing back and
Yeah.
become available.
Yeah.
Like the GAC, I don't think that last 141, I don't think will be there.
I think some of it will be, but I don't think it'll be all 141.
Yeah.
So let me ask a question, right? So obviously in favor of reinvesting in our infrastructure and things that we've talked about for years, sidewalks and Patton Park.
It's right
But,
up your alley.
But, right on my sidewalk.
Right up your sidewalk.
But I just want to understand, so if we if in theory we approved it tonight, what's the next set of approval though?
so-
You have to, planning would be done and then we'd vote on
Yeah,
the.
so, so once you approve the funds, we can, Tim's already working on a plan to do the sidewalk portion.
Okay.
With the Patton Park stuff, we put together a small in-house committee with Sean Timmons, myself.
But we have an
Tim.
option,
We
the
look at it.
sidewalk to vote on, like which sidewalks, like, he's not gonna be able to do everything for $500,000.
No,
No,
Tim's
he's gonna look at
putting
top
together,
priority.
Tim's gonna look at his priority list and identify $500,000 worth of work, or if you give him $600,000, $600,000 worth of work, and put that out to bid this summer so that it gets done in the fall.
Okay.
That's his goal, is to have it done this fall. And Patton Park improvements, we would probably take a little bit more time. We'd go through the Patton Park master plan, identify not just what they listed as priorities, but priorities that we can afford, and identify those, and then put together again.
On the
a
sidewalk,
bid.
although I don't trust Tim, I would love to him to come back one more time and say, like, to seek approval,
I
like,
can
these are
have
my
him-
options.
So
Because there's gonna be a couple things we probably
Oh,
help make decisions on as a
we could
group.
definitely have Tim make a presentation to the select board. Tim, operationally, Tim's in charge of, fixing sidewalks, and we generally let him do that, but.
But this is
definitely have him
this
come
is
in
no
and talk to
new
you about
sidewalks, this is just existing sidewalks repair, nothing new, or maybe something new.
Maybe something new. I know
Okay.
that and it may be a little bit more than, like, if you approve this 250 and we get the 250 at town meeting, that's ostensibly $500,000. But Tim could also take some money from the Chapter 90 money, because I know that
Right.
he's got an interest in putting in at least some sidewalk along Essex to connect School Street
Right.
to the Forest Road neighborhood. So that might be part of the project. And then I know there's other sidewalks in other parts of the town that are in need of repair. He's well aware of those. He has a sidewalk management plan. I'll have him come in after the April town meeting and go over what the priorities are in the sidewalk management plan, so that you'll know what sidewalks he's looking at, and you can make recommendations and stuff to that. Well, Sean can't because he'll be gone.
And then the same with Patton, because we came up with a lot of ideas for Patton. and
So,
then-
yeah, most of the ideas are in the Patton Park master plan. We used the reason for doing the master plan was to outline the opportunities for improvement, and then we try to deal with them based on the amount of money we have at the
Right.
time and what we can get for that money. So we'll revisit that master plan, cost out some of the.
Yeah, I don't remember that we ever prioritized I think there were recommendations, but I don't think we ever prioritized the recommendations.
Yeah, they didn't put together an
We didn't have an
implementation plan.
implementation.
No.
But part of that would be, they might prioritize something like, paved sidewalks throughout the park to connect the different features. Well, that might run way more than $100,000.
Right.
So even though if that was priority one, we wouldn't necessarily look at that because we couldn't afford to do that. Or they might prioritize drainage for the baseball field. Well, again, that's gonna be something that's probably gonna cost more than $100,000. So what can we do for whatever sum of money you give us, whether it be $100,000 or if you make that more? We identify projects from the plan that we could do for that amount of money.
I would, my 2 cents is, I would actually add more money to the Patton Park improvements.
Take it from the sidewalk, or take it from something
No,
else?
just take it
he's
from
saying out of that.
the
Take
extra.
it from the remainder of the 235 or 250, I'd put another 100K in the park.
Yeah, I think they need to come back for something that big. I mean,
I think
is
that-
it
I
one
think
vote
that's-
away, right?
I think that's
to
fine, but
Huntington?
if we tell Tim 100,000, and it's a couple of small things, like I think we just looked at a pocket park for 150,000 or something at the CPC. You know, I think maybe if we charge Tim to say, okay, what can you do with 100,000, or what can you do with 200,000?
That's what I want to see, I want to see some options, right?
I don't wanna limit him, because I think we have that wiggle room.
Yeah, but we can give him more on it when he comes in with a plan. I mean, I think this is what you asked for. You know, sharpen your pencil, come back, and then when they're here, if they say, we came up with this, but this much more, it's one vote away to add to it, right? So I like what was presented. I have no problem doing that. I'm not sure I'd go throw more money at it.
So
Yeah.
what I can do is I'll definitely have Tim and Sean and I look at the Patton Park master plan, figure out what we think we can get, and offer you some options. We'll come back. We may come back with a subsequent request for more funds for Patton Park.
I'd also charge this board, since I won't be here, to look at that remaining 250,000-ish that we have in it and think about how we're gonna expend it before December.
Obligated before December.
Obligated before December.
Does it have to be, or are they looking to
Has to be
extend
obligated.
that?
Has to be
Be,
obligated.
earmarked,
Has to be
not
voted-
spent,
voted
but-
in- Doesn't have to be spent, has to be encumbered.
We need to have a
I
contract.
thought they were looking to
basically.
extend that again now.
Sometimes that's
I haven't heard that yet.
Then you
I
would
do.
know before. Yeah, I think we've got time to do that. I mean, you came to us with these numbers, so I think there was some thought behind it. I would be curious of your thoughts of the remaining 235 as well. I'm sure you have some thought on that, whether it comes into these three or
More
into other
sidewalks.
things that we haven't
More
talked about.
sidewalks, Bill says.
I just know that the park is gonna be a little more expensive than we thought. The thought when we added $100,000 last year was just that we wanted to get started because we had the new master plan. And it was like, let's like build on some momentum. And we weren't sure what we were gonna have available after we went through all the things we needed to spend ARPA on. Now we're kind of getting near the end of the run and we have a little bit better understanding of what we might have left. I think you offer a great suggestion for us to look at the Patton Park Master Plan and come to the select board and make a presentation on things we'd like to do and give you an estimate on what that would be, and then we can get that.
Then we can
get
true
that
up
teed
the
up.
dollars at that point.
Yeah.
That's what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't want us to, you know, with that remaining funds, whatever it is, miss out on opportunities to do other things, you know, or if there's something that needs more pressing that we could spend it on, by
Right.
all means.
We don't know what we don't know.
Right, we don't know what we don't know.
Thank you, Jack Davis, Lois Street. I'd just like to offer a couple of opinions on the issue here. Robin and I think as some of you know, have been involved in a volunteer group called Friends of Downtown Hamilton, pulling weeds on Railroad Avenue and picking up trash at Patton Park. So just to express a citizen's opinion, I would hope that DPW would prioritize the repair of some of the uneven surfaces on Railroad Avenue, because the uneven surfaces and the lack of uniform surfaces and also a lot of the spray paint left by the utilities here, I think really gives a very poor appearance to our downtown compared to, you know, some of the surfaces that you find in Newburyport and other towns. So I hope that would find it near the top of the list. And of course, I know it's an open question in terms of Patton Park, but again, I would hope that the committee would give serious attention to the bandstand and its need of repair with a lot of the rotten wood and other structures which are really unsightly, and I think just don't give a good message about, you know, the quality of life in this town. So just friendly opinion. I want to thank the selectmen and our town administrator for all the hours they put in here, because I know that oftentimes when you do it right, you get taken for granted, and it's only when people don't get what they want that you hear from them. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you for
Thanks, Jack.
picking up weeds and everything
Thank
else
you.
that you
Thank
grouped
you.
us.
Yeah, thank you both.
And you and Robin, yeah.
Yeah.
Any further discussion, or do we want to just kind of charge Tim and Joe to come back
Do
with
we have to
some?
vote on this, or do we just?
I think what would you like, Joe? I thought we were here to approve the funds as described,
Yeah.
to release from ARPA, and then, you know, as they look to spend,
I would
get
like to
closer
make that, I
execution.
want them to come back to us with options. So that's part of the motion, is approve the funds, go spend it, but come back to us and I'd rather look at a plan and approve a plan than just approve a dollar, but.
Yeah, I
at
guess
least
I see
options to
that
look
with
at.
Patton Park. I mean, do we typically get involved with sidewalk selection,
No.
or do we leave that to the people we hire?
No.
That's generally the way we do it.
That's what I would say. I want to see the Patton Park improvement one, because we're going from 100 to 200 potentially in
Yeah.
the swipe of a pen. So I'm curious what you want to do there, but,
Sure.
but
Yeah, but
I think
like I
Tim
said,
put-
like, there's,
Well,
the
even-
town needs $2 million of repairs and sidewalks.
right.
I trust Tim a lot, but he's gotta only pick out 250 or 500. I'd like to see what it is before he just does it, right? So doesn't it, even if it's not an option, at least present to us
Yeah,
what he's doing. right?
And I definitely will have him, I'll
Yeah,
have
he
us
will.
do that. We'll bring that in
I mean,
because,
not that I don't trust him, but
I
we
thought-
might say,
So are
hey,
you saying we got to
Just
approve
wanna know
that,
where
or
it
we
is.
just want to be
Well,
aware, or?
I don't know what the process is, but I would think it should come, we'll have one more piece of input before we sort of say spend $500,000.
yeah, well, I think that the good news too is it gives us an opportunity to explain to people what we're doing and why,
Right.
what the reasoning behind
Yeah.
picking those sidewalks is, so
And not that we
we'll
don't
do
trust
that.
our DPW, we do, but we just, when you
No,
don't have
I-
enough money and you gotta pick your spots,
No,
let's do it as a group.
And we'll see it as maybe a sharing of information, right? Because those
Yeah.
neighborhoods that will be getting a new sidewalk or improved sidewalk will be, I would hope, happy about it. I mean, I know I was when they fixed my sidewalk after, 15 years or whatever.
I would like a sidewalk in front of my house, that'd be nice.
Yeah, me too.
You're way out there, man.
Yeah. Maybe,
I'm gonna need like $2
maybe a
million
strip of
to get
blacktop
used.
next to your house.
I'm
That's
gonna
it.
need like $2 million to get out on Island Ave, but
Gee,
we'll do our
what's a
best.
sidewalk?
And may I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Robin.
Would there be an option for citizen input on how this money is spent? Like just some suggestions from,
So, I mean, that was
Townspeople.
part of the reason we did the master plan, was to try to get citizen input, and I think they had several charrettes and got a lot of input. I believe you participated in that.
right, we
At this point
did.
now, what we have to do is prioritize based on the amount of money we have. So
This is
unfortunately.
definitely part of the master plan
Yeah,
sidewalk.
yeah, this is, the idea is to try to do the best job we can with the money that the board chooses to give us. So we'll come back and make a presentation, explain our reasoning. We'll take input, but. I
And
mean,
you're
it's-
welcome to
board's-
come again and stand up and
Okay.
speak your
I think
mind.
it's always fair to say, where could people send their feedback if they wanted it to be part of that process?
I'd love to say, send it to Tim Olson, but you should probably send it to me.
Send it to Joe or send it to the chair.
But,
Okay,
you
Sean
know, like,
Farrell?
do you do Railroad Avenue sidewalks or a residential area, for example?
So I think people should know that we're working with the HDC, and we're trying to really understand Railroad Avenue and Willow, all the way down to Asbury, and that whole
Good.
block as one group.
Good, good.
So that will probably take us more than $500,000. We have that as a separate project in the master plan, in the capital plan for 2 years out. So not in
great.
FY '25, but potentially in FY '26 if we can identify the source of funds. So
Right.
that's- we're working on that. We
Yeah.
applied for grant funds. We did not get the grant funds, so now we're back to the drawing board and figure out where we can get the funds. So,
I know, that was what Rick
Yeah.
Mitchell was working
yeah,
on.
we're
Right, correct.
definitely,
Yeah.
we're definitely trying for that, so.
Thank you.
All right.
And the consulting for the downtown plan, that was not out of ARPA, that was free cash, or?
The consulting for the downtown plan was some available funds that we had in the DPW department, and the HDC gave us some
A
money
little
towards
bit
that
in
as
that.
well. So
Okay.
that was good budget management.
Yep, it was a joint effort.
Nicely done.
All right, so did we get anywhere with, did we decide to make a motion, or do we want to?
I make a motion to allocate ARPA funds of $100,000 for Patton Park improvements and $250,000 for sidewalks, with the caveat that DPW comes and presents a plan to us before the money's spent.
Can I
5,500.
ask for
And
5,500 for the single audit?
And $5,500 for the audit expense.
Second,
All right,
well said.
any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Who seconded, I'm
Unanimous.
sorry?
Bill Wilson.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. I'll plan to be back here in April.
All right, up next, annual town meeting warrant, review and vote on final recommendations, a couple steps, of housekeeping. Vote to reopen the warrant to remove a few articles. 21133, vote to close the warrant. And vote on recommendations for articles not already voted, 1.3, 2.1, 2.11, 2.13, and 3.3.
Obviously. if
2.11 and 3.3, that will be mute if we remove them.
And town council's here, he had a couple questions from the warrant too. I know that last time not all the articles had recommendations, and so he was waiting on that. And some of the recommendations that the FinCom may have made since the last meeting, he may not have in his book, so he asked if he could, talk with us through it. And town moderator's here, always good to see Bill Buller. Thank you. You need a motion to reopen the warrant?
Yep. Does anybody want to make a motion to
I
reopen
move
the
that we
warrant?
reopen the warrant.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Ayes have it. All right, we're officially open. Tom, did you want to start, or do you want to remove some stuff first? It doesn't matter to me. Was there anything that you wanted to state out front, Tom?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I just had highlighted, spoke to Joe earlier today. I've also spoken to Wendy last week and again this morning about a couple of changes that were being made to the CPC budget as well as the opioid stabilization fund transfer. So we've nailed those down.
Right, we combined a couple of things and
Correct.
moved things around, right?
Yes, and then, so I thought maybe it just made sense to kind of go through the warrant, starting with Article 2-1.
Okay.
That was one where we were still waiting for recommendations from both the Select Board and the FinCom.
In your packets, you received the appendices, so some of the items that you didn't vote on had to do with not seeing the materials, so.
Right, and this was
you
one of
should have all
those.
that now, yeah. Do you want me to show you the appendices, or?
Yeah, if you want, wouldn't mind bringing them up.
Yep. That's Appendix A.
Okay, there's our wage and compensation table.
So this is based on the verbal agreements with all 5 unions, and then extending the same COLA to all other units in the.
Perfect.
All exempted police.
Any questions on that? John, did FinCom vote on this one?
Yep.
And you recommended favorable action?
Yep.
Perfect.
What was the vote, John?
4-0.
Thank you.
You have any questions about the compensation classification table?
No.
Okay.
Anybody want to make a recommendation, motion for recommendation?
Which article, sorry?
So this is
2-1.
2-1 for,
I'm one page behind you.
I move that we recommend favorable action to Article 2-1.
Second that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. The next one was Article 2-2. I believe we had decided we were going to leave this on the warrant just in case.
Right.
Prior fiscal year came in sometime between now and the close or between now and town meeting, but at this point, we don't have anything.
Right, so
pending.
currently we're at no
Really?
prior year bills.
Wow, it's impressive.
we still have no prior year bills, so far so good.
So far, so good. And
Don't
we-
jinx me, I don't wanna have to tell you on April 1st that we gotta change this, but as of right now, we're good.
Do you still want us to leave it?
It's easy to
Yeah,
pass
all right.
over if we get no bills, but it's, if we,
Harder to add it
If
later.
we take it off.
if we
and
take it
get
off and then we
something-
get, the minute you take it off, we're gonna have them walk in the door, so.
Let's leave it.
So
I don't wanna push my luck.
I would recommend somebody makes a motion just in case we do get a prior year bill.
I make a motion to recommend favorable action for Article 2-2.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it.
Uh,
John, did you guys vote on this too? Same, 4-0?
Yep.
All right, and we did 2-3, we're all set with, and this was, I gotta go back up to my agenda here for a second.
2-3
I think
is,
we're good with that.
2-3 is the budget, and you guys
Yeah.
both
Right.
boards recommended favorable action on that. 2-4 is the capital.
Can I make a motion to add myself to the vote and have it be 5-0?
Yes,
I was the one that didn't vote that day.
Yep.
Yes.
I make a motion to have the Select Board recommend 5-0 favorable action, I'm adding myself to the,
Can I ask,
point of order there on that.
do you plan to vote with the rest of the board on all the votes that they took?
yeah, make one motion.
If you've read them
Yeah.
and you feel
Yeah.
comfortable, they just wanna
Yeah.
make all those 5-0s, just do that and make it easy.
I'll make the
for
motion at the
yourself.
end, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that, and then we can just change them all. Perfect.
I think the only one we couldn't change is the compensation classification table since
Is Caroline's on your
Carol's not here, correct.
Gotcha.
capital
And
expenditures?
the prior fiscal year.
Prior
bills
fiscal year, so
Right.
that's two, right?
Anything that we voted on before. would be okay.
Additions.
You've done the capital and water enterprise budget already? No, yeah, water enterprise budget's been done.
So all
Sean, did-
previous recommendations.
Right, so it would be for 2-3, 2-4, 2-5.
John, did the
2-6.
FinCom vote on the water enterprise budget?
Yes, favorable,
4-0?
4-0.
Thank you.
Okay.
Annual financial actions was 4-0. Hamilton Development Court was 4-0.
Yeah.
All be 5-0.
OPEB
OPEB,
was the same.
Stabilization Fund was the same.
Yeah,
Capital Stabilization Fund was the same.
right.
So those will all be changed to 5-0s.
All right,
That
and then, that was 2-10 was the last one, right?
Yeah.
So now we're on the 211. This is the one that we talked about removing, based on new information or old information. It's just been kind of shared with us, and John has been great about sharing it. I think everybody's seen it, and Bill, you were the one that really requested it.
Yep.
And it looks like it makes more fiscal sense to not do this at the moment. Correct?
Probably wait a year, and the rates come down.
Take advantage of it then.
Yep.
Take advantage of the
Advantage of it
opportunity
next year.
It earns some interest
Earn
on
interest
it.
instead of paying it, just.
Yep, yep.
So we would vote to remove it, or?
Would vote to remove it, yeah.
I move that we remove Article 2-11 from the warrant.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right, it's removed.
So we'll renumber the rest of the section 2 articles from there.
Right, and so now our new 2-11, the town center, excuse me, comprehensive plan
Is
is
already-
voted on.
And that become a 5-0.
Yeah,
And then 2-13 becomes 2-12. That's the community preservation budget. That was Appendix F.
Yeah.
Let me share that
And
with you.
that one had not been voted on yet.
Right. And Tom, is this we want to make a change here, the way this do we get-
Yeah, I spoke to Wendy on Thursday and Friday, I believe it was, last week, about Appendix F. She conferred with the town's auditor as well, so we have a final version, which I sent over on Friday.
Okay, so I have the wrong one here. I apologize.
So basically, with respect to the community preservation budget, the ultimate vote would be to appropriate $30,195.12 for administrative costs. Open space and recreation will be fulfilled by $103,800 being transferred from the Community Preservation Fund balance for the debt service related to the Sagamore Hill project. $11,000 will be transferred from the unreserved fund balance to the Community Housing Reserve, and $11,000 from the unreserved fund to the Historic Preservation Reserve, which was to make up for a shortfall from last year. There's an appropriation of $11,000 from the Historic Preservation Reserve and $334,424.31 from the unreserved fund balance, for a total appropriation of $345,424.31 to fund the debt service for the town hall project. And that's the extent of the budget.
So on screen in front of you, and from Tom's email on Friday, is the way the new Appendix F would look. What's in red has been struck. The purpose for taking out the other articles from this is that it would make it look like you were voting on that twice, and you don't want to create that position where we're voting on it twice. So the town meeting is essentially asked to vote on Appendix F to approve the CPC budget, operating budget, and the items in black, including the debt service payment to the town hall project, would all come out of the CPC budget. And then the other articles are explained in their articles, so you don't need appendices for them.
That's correct, right, exactly. So it looks like, if we include those articles in the budget, it looks like we're appropriating those funds
Twice.
twice. So we want to
We
make
don't
sure
wanna
that
do
we're
that.
not doing that. And town meeting obviously has the ability to vote on and approve the appropriations that are shown in what the prior numbers were, 2-15, 2-16, and 2-17. Those all changed by one.
All right,
And Jay Butler from the CPC chair is here. I know he did let us know by email on Friday that he approved of Tom's suggestions and reasoning. Did I misstate that, Jay? Don't want to speak for you.
no, Jay gave the thumbs up.
All right.
John McGrath, did your committee make a vote on this?
Yep. Positive,
4-0,
favorable, 4-0.
okay. Anybody here want to follow suit with the motion?
I move that we recommend favorable action to Article 2-12, it would be at this point.
The new 2-12.
New 2-12.
New dash, 2-12? Yep. CPC budget.
CPC.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, now, moving on to new 2-13, the old 2-14, CPC, Affordable Housing Trust Grant.
Yeah, and there were two changes to this article, and they're similar changes to the other ones as well. So I renamed it so that the name was consistent, so it's the appropriation is coming from the unreserved fund balance. Just to clarify, previously it said unreserved
undesignated,
fund,
yeah.
or I think it said undesignated
Yeah.
fund account, so just to make it consistent, the wording. And typically, the CPC articles have had a provision in there that says that after a particular date, if the funds have not been expended, then the CPC can have a vote to have those funds returned to the CPC. It's typically been 2 years is usually the time frame, so I inserted April 6th, 2026 in all of these remaining 3 project-specific appropriations for the CPC. So I just wanted to confirm that that was correct, or whether you wanted to change that or not include it, or how
We don't want to do that, do we, Jay? No.
No.
Not with this particular article.
Okay.
And if I can put some words in Jay's mouth, the CPC, we've had discussions previously on other grants, yes, when it's a construction grant or something like that, but when it's a funding grant for our Affordable Housing Trust, we don't put a sunset
Okay,
on it.
that's fine. So I can take out, let's see. Basically, the "and further" to authorize.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll leave the "and further" authorize the select board to accept such restrictions,
Oh,
and
so-
then the "provided" will come out.
So about the, let's see, where is it here?
Enter into a grant agreement above that.
The entering into a grant agreement for purpose of yada, yada, yada.
Yep,
We haven't done that before?
okay, that's
Is it a
usually how
standard
I've seen
thing?
it.
And
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I guess
fairly standard.
I'm for it if it's the standard and best practice, but to my knowledge, I don't think we've done that before, Jay. And then Jay had a question about that on Friday to me, and I didn't know the answer. And we've had, when we've granted monies before to, was it Willow Flats?
Yes, it was to the,
We Traeger.
Traeger, yeah.
We went into
Tregorth.
agreement with
Tregorth.
Tregorth.
There was a grant agreement between the Affordable Housing Trust and Tregorth, instead
Right.
of between the Select Board and the Affordable Housing Trust.
Does it matter where that goes, or does it lie with the executive board?
Yeah, it probably lies more with the executive board. I would say ultimately, obviously, if ultimately the funds are being used for affordable housing purposes, we're gonna wanna make sure that there's a restriction on the property so that they continue
Right.
to be used for affordable housing purposes. But if the Affordable Housing Trust is getting that restriction as opposed to the select board, the key piece is that the restriction should be there.
Yeah, so I guess before we move on, do we want to have the grant restriction or the future restriction with the select board or the Affordable Housing Trust? It's gotta be one or the other.
Right?
Or we
That's a good
can make the
question. I
language
remember having this
Or it could have
discussion.
both?
broader, right, exactly. I can make the language broader in the article to, at least for now, to just give it the option for it to be either, and then we can figure that out at the time when the grant agreement's signed.
I'm okay with either,
makes
any of the
sense.
options,
Probably better.
as long as there's some kind of agreement that there's a restriction on it.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I just don't remember doing this last time, so.
We haven't.
We haven't.
Right.
We haven't done it before. The first time we did it was with the Willow Flats development. I think we missed it on our Harbor Light, or not Harbor Light, our Habitat houses by
Yeah.
Lincoln Ave and stuff, but we're a little bit new to the game, so. Everybody fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So
is there
ju-
a pro or con, Joe, in your opinion, on where that restriction?
No,
As long as it's done, right?
Yeah,
Right,
that's
so where's
the
it most
key
likely to
piece.
be done, I guess, is there?
well, so, just to give credit to the Affordable Housing Trust, about 3 years ago when we were doing the Willow Flats, it was the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust at the time that called out, we need a grant agreement with them, and got the town through KP Law to draft an agreement that was exercised at that level. But that grant had been made years before KP Law was on hand. If KP, you know, I could make a case for you both ways, but if our council's saying that it should be with the select board, the select board is the executive branch of the town government. It probably makes sense for the board to have a grant agreement. What I think will happen from that, though, is that you'll have a grant agreement with the Affordable Housing Trust, and then the Affordable Housing Trust is gonna have to go out and have a grant agreement on
Right.
your behalf with the,
Yeah.
so there'll be two of them.
It could be, yeah, it could just be like the grant agreement that the select board would enter into with the Affordable Housing Trust could just be something along the lines that says that we're giving you this grant, in exchange, anybody who receives funds through this program has to
Enter into a grant
enter into
agreement
a
with the
deed
Affordable Housing Trust
rider
for,
that
yeah.
provides that it will be remain affordable housing.
So I
So
think,
this board could just write a brief policy on that and kind of be done with it, I think. And then then the Affordable Housing Trust could do the details on it, but
Yeah, makes sense.
did that make sense to you?
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
No, I think so, yeah.
all right,
All right,
you're through all the community preservation articles you voted.
the new 2-15, was
Fire
the housing production plan one we
Yep.
voted on.
Yep.
Right, and actually, I'm sorry, going back to the old, the 2-13, the way it's worded, it says further to authorize the select board to enter into a grant agreement with the Hamilton Affordable Housing Trust, setting the terms for such grants, including a requirement that the owners of any dwellings subsequently receiving any of those appropriated monies from the trust grant to the town an affordable housing restriction. So
Yeah.
I think the only change that we could make is grant to the town or the Hamilton Affordable Housing Trust a restriction.
Yeah.
And that will leave that a little bit
Little open.
broader.
Yep,
But otherwise, I think it accomplishes the goal.
yep,
Thank you, Tom.
okay. The new 2-14, old 2-15 was the housing production plan from the CPC. We've already voted this, FinCom voted it that night with us,
So the select board's vote will be changed to 5-0 on all these.
right?
And that was one where I did add the language in there about any funds that aren't expended.
Right,
prior
and
to
that's
April
fine with
6th,
that, yeah.
Remember that one? And it was well with the next one, the fire truck building.
Yep, the same with the fire truck building, the sunset date's fine in
Right.
there.
Okay, sounds good. And I also, that was another one where I just changed the wording so that it was consistent with
Yep.
unreserved fund
With the
balance.
undesignated, right? So, 14 and 15 now.
Right.
Fire truck and whatever we've all voted on, just
Yep.
changing the language a little bit.
Yep.
The new 2-16 is the opioid special reserve fund. Did you have something about this one, Tom?
I did, yes. I spoke with Wendy, I got an email from her and spoke with her this morning. The amount is changing. There have been some additional funds that have come in on the opioid settlements. It may change again, but in order to keep this on the consent agenda, what we decided was to just go with what exactly we know the town is getting. There's some mix-up, it appears, with respect to the settlement that was paid on behalf of CVS, where it's, looks like it was paid prematurely by the firm that is managing the payments of all the settlement agreements. So the state apparently needs to have a consent decree entered by a court, which apparently hasn't happened yet. So the hope is that that will happen. It's not clear whether that'll happen prior to the end of the fiscal year or not. And they have asked cities and towns that have received these funds prematurely to work with them in terms of reversing those wire transfers. So I don't think it's a lot of money, frankly, for the
No.
town, but ultimately, in order to keep it on the consent, in the consent article, we need to have a specific dollar amount and a specific funding source. So in this case, it's changing from the 7,000 number to $13,723.25.
Which is a little over $6,000 in new funds that were sent to the town last Friday.
Okay.
I think that, Tom, a quick question. So once
Once
this is established, we don't need to move
don't have
this
to keep
every
going
year.
back,
They'll
right?
That's
automatically-
correct. So if funds come in future years, then
Right.
it's a a special reserve fund
Right,
that's
so-
designed specifically.
Automatically, we don't have to vote it every
Exactly,
time.
and they can be expended for purposes outlined in the settlement agreements.
Right, so,
Okay.
so that'll
I just
be-
wanted, I wanted to confirm that too, that we didn't have to keep doing it.
Okay.
All right, we voted on that one. Do you feel you need to vote again on it since the numbers changed? I mean, it's more money, so.
It's the same thing, it's just
The
more
same
money.
thing, it's just more
And,
money.
well, this will happen for like the next 9 years, that we'll get a little bit of money, but it declines every year. Like I said, when we proposed this or explained it at the last meeting, I think total, we're gonna get over the 10 years, like $60,000 something.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're in year 2 and we've only got 13, so, yeah, it's not gonna be a lot. It's not gonna be big dollars for us.
All right, 3-1 was our state flag.
That was already done.
Resolution, already voted on. 3-2, we already voted on, which is the general law
For the retirees.
for the retirees. And then 3-3 is one we're talking about removing.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I-
so,
Oh, I'm sorry, I was gonna just add that, so you may be aware, but recently, the governor had proposed a new piece of legislation called the Municipal Empowerment Act that has a number of different changes that are being proposed to various general laws, after a lengthy kind of tour and listening session with a number of different municipal officials across the state. And one of the things that came out of that and is in the proposed legislation is to amend the statute that allows town center to town manager contracts to extend it so that it is 5 years. So ultimately, it could be corrected by statute, so it may be, unfortunately, it's not gonna be done, in time to
In this
negotiate the
contract,
current
right.
contract with Joe, but it may be an option in future years.
All right, good to know. Thanks,
So
Tom.
we're moving it because,
So at the last meeting, Tom outlined a number of different ways that the intent can be reached without changing the Town Manager Act, and my recommendation is to do that.
Okay.
Let's investigate one of those instead, and
Okay.
Yeah.
rather.
Bill and I, we've traded some texts this week, we're gonna regroup, but we do have some other options, and after
Okay.
talking to Joe again, we can get where we wanna be without adding
Right.
this to the warrant. So I would recommend we remove Article 3-3.
second that.
Get it.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, ayes have it. It's gone. All right, and then,
And that'll renumber the citizens petition
Yeah.
questions, which close out the warrant.
right, and then 3-3, we voted on. Bill, do you wanna make a vote, yea or nay to that?
3 dash,
We just
3-4.
yeah,
which is
I'm
now
just gonna make
3-3.
one vote at the end.
All right.
This is 4-0, same thing, right? One of them's 4-0, one of them's 3-1.
I'm the one.
Yeah, so the
But that's a different-
recommendation was
that's a
no
different-
action, and Sean voted unfavorable action. So you'd have
So-
to pick which one you want.
So there's 3-4, there's 3-5,
And
and
3-6.
3-6.
So it was to make no recommendation on the first article, to make a recommendation for unfavorable action on the second article, and to make a recommendation,
No recommendation
make no recommendation.
on the third.
So I make a motion that you add my single vote to every article that votes with the majority of the board.
And did second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Did the FinCom speak further about the petitions, or choose because of their initial position that they already made their?
Yeah, would you share your recommendation, John, on 3-4?
Yeah, the
3-5,
FinCom
3-6.
did discuss this. We voted to make no recommendation, although we have a 3-page dissertation in our book of recommendations. I think the bottom line is, let's listen to what the town meeting has to say.
On all of them, or just on the first one?
All three.
All three.
Now, we are meeting again Wednesday, so we might,
So opinions may change on Wednesday?
opinions may change.
All right.
People are percolating the whole conversation. But anyway, but we are, right now, we are making a recommendation that the school board, the school committee, and the voters contemplate the PFAS issue and take it seriously and potentially reconsider grass versus turf. So that will, something of that nature will be in our write up. It's a pretty serious issue, so. So I'll report back to Joe on Thursday morning if
All
we
right.
decide to change the vote. Where right now, we said, we'll tell you what we think. The recommendation is really benign from the FinCom. That was our point of view,
Gotcha.
so.
And that's all I had.
We talked last time about consent items, right? We figured
We
that
did,
all out.
yes. So the consent article would include Articles 2-1,
Yeah,
2-5, 2-6, 2-7, 2-8, and 2-17, which I
It's
think
now 216.
now
Is now
becomes
216.
216. And 3-2.
okay. If there's nothing else, we can vote to close the warrant. If anybody wants to make a motion.
Close the warrant.
All right. Second by anybody?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jay, did you want to add something?
You're not gonna put the community preservation budget on the consent agenda?
I think we did, didn't we, Tom? That's 2-13.
It wasn't on there before, but I think that's because the board hadn't voted to make a recommendation until this evening.
All right.
But we can certainly add it if you'd like. It has been on the consent
And
agenda.
we
in
have
the
done it
past.
previously. Is everybody fine with adding that to the consent?
I think we gotta vote again to close the,
No, it's just consent.
Okay,
We've
gotcha.
closed the
Oh,
warrant. It doesn't have anything to do
Sure.
with it.
Okay.
Neither here nor there.
yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, let's add that.
Okay, and that's.
Thank you, Jay, for pointing that out.
That will be number 2-12 and the renumbered.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Bowler, are you ready for an eventful meeting? I will say it will be a challenge to keep people within, as we say, the four corners, I think, of these articles, at least these last three articles. Will be. Okay, good. You got your timer and everything, I hope. Do you want to add anything, Bill, before we move on and end the meeting?
No, not really. I just think, I hope people will show up and be respectful. And,
Yeah, that's our hope.
It's, I get goosebumps sometimes about town meeting, not always, but it's real democracy, so
Yeah.
please come.
John, any comments from your neck of the woods in FinCom?
Just one point, we are planning to distribute and publish that capital forecast.
The one that you sent me just recently,
I
right?
sent it to the board. We're going to fine tune it. But we are showing sort of the full range of capital that we see and the impact. But we're also highlighting the fact that if we decide to build on the Cutler site, when it becomes available, we're showing a potential of $20 million of tax revenue coming to the town over a 30-year period. So there are some big numbers staring us in the face. $50 million from the state funding that they're prepared to give us, and then another $20 million in potential tax revenue
Right, to offset some of that.
to
hopefully.
offset. So it's
What about the sale of the property?
some real big numbers that the taxpayers should avail themselves of by supporting this.
Right, and
We
you're
also-
talking just revenue from the site, and Bill, you're mentioning
Right.
revenue from a sale of the site.
Yeah, the 20 million includes the sale.
The sale.
Yeah,
And
so we
It's
think
just important to note, though, that the revenue from the sale of town-owned land has to be spent on capital, can't be spent on anything else. So you'd get
Yeah,
in.
that's a good point.
You'd get in the millions of dollars, or 3 or 4 million, or whatever you sold the site for, and then that would go elsewhere into the capital plan to offset other capital
But it's
expenses.
still saves-
It
still
yeah, it
ends up in
saves,
the
it saves you,
bucket.
it saves
Right,
from raising
so,
your taxes for it, so
And the
that's
grant
that's a
that we
good thing.
applied for that we didn't get,
Right.
if we sell Winthrop for $5 million, there's our $5 million grant, basically, that we put into downtown and that all new zoning and stuff, so.
And the other comment that we'll make, and this is included in the deck I sent you folks, if you were to do 2 schools 10 years apart, the cost difference between one new school now and 2 schools 10 years from now is about $90 million difference.
Additional,
Additional.
correct.
So what I've heard is,
Staggering.
how much is it gonna cost to build a school? What is the potential revenue that we could get from the site? Hey, why don't we do 2 small schools? So when the FinCom comes to a recommendation on all this, we'll likely want to bring up these big numbers. The state's willing to give us $50 million, like, in 2028.
Right.
And that's not something you want to delay or defer, because there's a time value of that.
Right.
So anyway, these are some of the biggest numbers that I think Hamilton has had to deal with in decades. Well, probably
Oh, yeah.
ever. Probably ever
Probably
all
ever.
at once.
Never
So,
yet.
anyway, so I think it's important that the select board, you know, understand sort of the headlines and the big numbers. And it's important that the taxpayers know that we're paying attention and that we are aware of these.
Right.
And
And we've got a lot of kind of things coming to fruition. We've got a
Yeah.
master plan coming to fruition. We've just finished a bunch of other
Right.
consulting services, so we've got a roadmap,
yeah.
right?
So, anyway, financially, these are big times here. But I do believe we're addressing, you know, the tax bill in terms of trying to generate some revenue. And we're also trying to address the painfully aging school infrastructure, whether it be fields or whether it be schools. So anyway, those are just some of the
Right,
thoughts.
and we're constantly trying to find
Right.
revenue.
Yeah,
And
so this is a huge opportunity for the
opportunity.
town if we make good decisions. So we're willing to discuss any and all of these topics at any point, so.
Yeah, this was great, by the way, thank you. I don't see the athletic fields on here. Should they have a line of their own, or are they lumped?
Well, the money's already done.
But I think, isn't the idea to maybe even roll out over the next several years, you know, if this spend layers in, which it hasn't, but the athletic fields, what your tax rate would increase by? I mean, is that the end goal?
Well, I mean, the fields are, last year we said it's $300 a year on an average house, so we've already stated that. It's already water
Baked
under the
in, yeah.
bridge.
Yeah, I just think that, like, it would be hard to put all of this up there, but the last time you did this, you had a one-page grid that kind of just layered it. And
Yeah,
kind
there's
of
a-
on top of the existing rate on,
Page-
this would be the impact.
Yeah, page 3 of the deck shows that if we did all this capital, it's anywhere from $800 a year to $1,800 a year on an average tax bill. If we did all of it.
If you didn't want soup to nuts on it,
Right.
yeah.
If we did
Right.
all this capital and we woke up in 2031, what would your tax
Yeah,
bill
yeah,
go up by?
which is the page I'm on. But I guess what I was saying is I don't see the 300, so it's really, there's 300 in here too, on top of what people pay today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's all.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was envisioning on kind of, here's your layer effect, here's what you've approved already, so you're going from here to here, and these are the things that lie ahead as we make
Yeah.
these big decisions, to your point.
Now,
You know, you could be seeing 22,
Now, keep
2,300.
in mind, as I've stated, these are all estimates.
Mm-hmm.
You could come in and say, hey, use a 4% interest rate versus a 5% interest rate, and the numbers would come down.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is all sort of very directional, but it's very accurate because the capital has come from the town and the schools.
Right.
And we've sort of followed the building project pretty closely. So, anyway,
Right, that's understood. I mean, you gotta make assumptions, right?
so,
And they're all gonna
Anyway.
change. I mean, the cost of everything behind here could change, but I think it's great.
yeah. So it at least gives you some data points to talk about. But anyway, so we plan to deliver this as a handout. So, anyway, that's all.
All right, thanks, John.
Thanks.
Any,
This is great.
any new business?
A lot, we covered a lot tonight.
Yeah, we got a lot. Was there
Yeah, me
something
too.
new
Next-
business that
so
we were
next
gonna
week is our-
talk about?
Yeah, I think we're gonna, I know, we voted for a 50-year extension, right, on a lease potentially.
Yeah.
Now, where are we at with coming back and looking at the district agreement?
So Sean by email made a recommendation that we start using so the last couple of years, last year and a half, 2 years, we've been doing a 5 chairs meeting.
Yep.
Every, couple times a quarter usually. And I've been using that to kind of help direct kind of the way the budget talks go and everything else. And so Sean thought that since we already have that in place, that maybe using that group to kickstart the district agreement negotiations would work. And Dana Lara piped in that she agreed with that. Have not heard anything from Wenham, so I will tickle them tomorrow and see if they are okay with that idea, so that we can get a 5 chairs meeting scheduled and get it on the agenda.
And did I share with everybody the previous iteration for the apportionment?
You sent something, and then you were gonna look for additional, I'll have to relook at my.
I haven't done that yet, but I'll look.
Hey, we're still got a
Folks,
here.
folks.
Excuse us, folks.
Folks,
The meeting's still going on.
sorry, still having a meeting. That's okay. I'll find that information about the allocation, the kind of structure of that, and I'll send it around. I thought I had, but maybe I hadn't. It was kind of a basic structure for when they did the apportionment committee, and I thought it was kind of a good structure to use for the school agreement committee.
So you'll, at the 5 chair meeting that you propose, maybe they can come out of that with
Yeah,
some type
exactly.
of-
I'll give them that
Alright.
template that we used previously, and then,
Future committee can allocate somebody to
yeah,
it.
exactly. They can figure it out.
That makes sense.
Tom, since you're still here, the KP's received the disclosures from both Hamilton and Wenham now for reopening the regional school district agreement, and determined that Lauren will be taking point for both towns in that?
Lauren will be taking point. My last communication with her a week or so ago was I don't believe that we had received Wenham's disclosure back yet.
Okay.
So
Talk to,
unless that's been received, that we really can't do anything until that takes place. But I know I thought she had been in touch with the town administrator to find out, so.
I'll check with them too.
All right, so we'll keep pressing on that and go from there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom. All right, any other new business?
Yeah, so we have one more meeting before.
Yeah, so we'll talk, we'll talk script next meeting.
Okay.
And if
I'm more-
you're gonna, maybe you wanna send me an email just of articles that you guys think you might wanna
We
move?
already sent it.
You did?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
And it's actually here in my paper, so I'll bring it.
Okay, perfect.
I'll bring it to that meeting, where we can make those motions.
Just a quick question on, when is the next meeting?
April
April
1st,
1st.
Monday, April
Okay,
1st.
I'm gonna be out of town. I can certainly get you a script before then for
If
review.
you can give me a script, I'll write in who the movers are.
We can just write in the
and-
names.
and-
If you get the script, we can put the names in.
Okay.
When does this thing go to print?
Doesn't go to print anymore, remember?
Put it
But
online.
It gets published on Friday the 29th.
I thought we printed some copies for.
We printed some copies, but we gotta post a couple copies, because we actually have to post copies. We'll make copies available, some copies at the
Somebody
site
wants one, they can
COA,
request one.
and if somebody wants them, they can
Which
ask
is
for
weird,
them.
because it probably gets edited, but the articles don't get broken up on a page, right? Because in our thing we had today, in our draft, every article got broken into page breaks. We're just gonna make sure the articles that don't get broken into page break,
So
and they stay within a page.
every warrant has a couple that break, but it's not usually as many. We're still making edits and stuff, and there's.
It'll be
There's a
cleared
lot.
out even more, yeah.
It's still got in track changes mode, so that, once we take all the comments and track changes out, it'll shrink it up a little too, so we'll get it as close to possible
But
as.
next meeting, April 1st, will be Sean's last meeting.
Last
of
meeting,
9
besides town
9
meeting.
years?
Besides
9
that,
years.
10 years, 9 years on the
9
board.
years, yeah, so. there you go.
Tom, you'll have
Once I'm
an
on the agenda.
updated version of this next couple days, maybe, or tomorrow, something like that?
Yes, certainly by the end of the week, I would say, at the latest. I know I'm out tomorrow afternoon, and probably Wednesday, Thursday,
Okay.
and I'm gonna be out as well, so I should have something for.
So when we get a new version of this, I just encourage y'all to read through it, because every once in a while, I'll read through it and I'll catch a typo on something silly, maybe a time or something
Okay.
like that, or a comma or something, but just proofread it for us. More eyes on it makes better. Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
I guess it's sort of a new way to do it, without violating the open meeting law, of course. People should let Joe know who's gonna make the for the script, since.
We'll do that at the
Tom's.
next, so I'll get the draft script from Tom, and I'll put it up on the screen, and we'll go through it,
so you're
article by
gonna
article.
do
say
that
who
on the first?
On the
yeah.
first.
Okay,
So we'll have it
Yep.
all printed out and ready for us on the 6th, yeah.
but if it's gonna be well, I guess. that's
Script doesn't get
script.
posted, just the
It's the
warrant.
warrant
Yeah.
that's gonna
Right,
be posted. on
right,
the-
exactly. Yep, we could work on the script after it's been posted, because we only see the script.
Right.
So, all right, anybody want to make a motion?
Make
Move
motion
that
to
we
adjourn.
Ooh.
Second?
Dueling motions to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight at home and in person.